So for the average chef's knife, for daily use for the average person, there are two primary factors involved with how well that knife is going to work for you. Most good sharpeners, when they pick up a knife, won't feel the edge. They'll feel to see how thick the blade is. Now why would that be? I'll show you in a minute. The edge itself is almost the easy part. It's getting the blade back in condition and thinness that'll make the biggest difference in how the blade works for you. So let's take a look at this. I took this cleaver all the way through the system, all the way up to 4,000 grit, which you would never do because a cleaver is made for chopping bones and so on. So you want a very tough edge on there. But just to make this point, I've taken this edge all the way up to 4,000, which is what I would generally take a fine chef's knife up to. Show you in a minute why that is. Okay, so as I said, I took this all the way to 4,000. As you can see, it's sharp. It's got a good edge on it. See how it cuts into the paper. But to take this and actually try to use it in the kitchen, for instance, to chop a carrot, it starts, but there's more pressure involved to cut through the carrot because of the thickness of the blade. In fact, if I take this spatula, which has absolutely no edge on it at all, square edge in fact, you'll have to take my word for it, but it's actually easier to cut through the carrot with this spatula, which has no edge at all, than it is to cut through it with this cleaver, which has a 4,000 micron edge, but a thick blade. So the thinness is a critical factor. So the two factors are the edge itself, which starts the cut, and then the thickness of the blade, which finishes the cut. A properly sharpened knife takes both into account. So there are three fundamental edge profiles on a knife that's been sharpened, on a properly sharpened blade. If you sharpen on a wheel, something that has a convex profile, you're going to get a concave shape to the blade. If you sharpen on a stone or a belt that has a platen, you're going to get a straight bevel, both sides meeting at the apex of the blade. A slack belt will give you a convex edge, which is very strong. It's also a little bit difficult to resharpen, but you can see that as you put a pressure onto the blade, the belt gives and forms sort of a curve, a convex curve that meets at the apex of the blade. And of course, the most common edge that you're going to see is basically one that's put onto the stone or a grinder with a platen. It's a single bevel. The trick, of course, is to keep the angle. It's all about the angle, and it's always going to be all about the angle and holding it consistent, because you can get your knife completely sharp and have a last-minute slip and away you go. You've ruined it, you have to start over. So the problem gets to be muscle memory. You'll see a lot of people out there on the videos going like this, back and forth. Then you just switch hands, and have you got the same angle on there? Probably not. And at the end of the day, on your 30th knife, you know darn well you're going to be varying. And then you don't really know what the angle is next time. So frankly, that's one of the reasons our system has a way to lock in that angle and get it very precise down to 1 degree actually on both sides and perfectly centered. This is fine, but it takes a lot of muscle memory. It takes some training and it takes a lot of practice, hundreds of knives before you're consistent with it. The alternative would be something like maybe like Duranich's little clip here, which essentially holds the angle because the front of the blade rests here and the clip rests here, and then that holds the angle as you move it across the stone. But of course this thing turns out to be sacrificial as it wears down, the angle changes. And where did you clip it and how tight and etc., etc. Now there are many arguments about what's the best, which lasts the longest. It's always a trade-off between sharpness, keenness, and durability. We happen to believe that the best combination is a double bevel. So you start with a single bevel, thin for pressure, and then you add a secondary bevel for durability and ease of maintenance.